This particular subject, I think it's probably the nearest and the dearest to Ben's heart. It's politics.
Right.
John MacArthur said a number of things that could cause a number of Christians to go, what's up with that?
My calling, my mandate, the command from heaven to me is to preach the gospel to the ends of the earth. That's the message that I am committed and mandated by God to preach. It's the gospel. Politics is the art of reordering human society on a temporal basis. The message of the gospel has to do with eternal issues.
Listen very carefully. Can you hear some people getting agitated, and he's just getting warmed up with his balance of gospel and politics?
Yeah, in fact, I've already seen a response to that by a theonomist who just went crazy with that. It really irritated him.
What is a theonomist?
A theonomist is someone who believes that the civil principles of the Old Testament law are what need to govern society even today, and so that one of the duties of the church is to lobby in politics for legislation that reflects the moral equity of the Old Testament.
So stoning naughty children again.
Yeah.
That
in
far?
fact, well, sometimes. I mean, it's odd. Joel McDermott was the one who wrote this article where he was furious with John MacArthur for this.
Oh, here we go.
And 5 years ago or so, he was arguing that, we ought to stone homosexuals, But he's changed from that now, and he's adopted sort of the social justice agenda. So I really don't know how to define where he's at. And the thing about theonomists is, as a group, they've always done more fighting with each other than they really actually do teaching a consistent view. So it's hard to follow them.
That God reigns
right,
directly.
Which we agree with.
Apply His Bible, the Old Testament precepts, to the nation of Israel, to America.
Right.
That's what they're, okay. So John MacArthur hinting he's not about that, but he kept going.
Right.
That doesn't mean I avoid everything political, because I also want to do anything I can to elevate justice and righteousness in the world. And so as a Christian, I want to take responsibility for whatever political avenues that I can go down that are going to increase the order of society, the blessing of society. I want to be pro-family, pro-life, pro-character, pro-virtue, pro-morality, all those kinds of things, pro-honesty, pro-kindness, pro-mercy, pro-grace, all of those things in my culture.
Now, he's, in that particular clip, seemed to sound like it could be a bending toward theonomy. What's he going after here?
Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world," right? So the political structure that we're talking about in the kingdom of God the church has not been tasked with taking over the governments of this world and handing them over to Christ. That's the theonomic view. Most of them are post-millennialists. So they believe that the church will, ultimately gain control of the earthly governments and hand them over to Christ. My view, and I think that probably the dominant view throughout Christianity would be that, no, Christ, when He comes, will set up His kingdom. He will be the one that conquers world governments. And so He hasn't called the church to advance the gospel at the point of the sword or through politics or whatever.
But that's happened throughout history, hasn't it?
And here and there you can cite things like the Inquisition and things like that, but biblically minded Christians have never.
Sure, we need to remember, when somebody brings up the Crusades to us, the Inquisitions to us, as a Protestant, I don't need to defend those because I'm not a Roman Catholic.
That's right.
That's there, but we have seen
in fact,
people take the sword.
That was the mistake of the Crusaders. They thought, well, that it's their duty to sort of protect the kingdom of God on this earth. And so rather than actually just proclaiming the gospel, which is the commission the church has been given, and that's what John MacArthur's saying in that clip, they busied themselves with politics, which soon became issues of war and armed conflict, and it derails the calling and purpose of the church.
A mingling of church and state that was way over the line. Now, John MacArthur trying to, state pretty clearly, Christians are about proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ. Of course, you see somebody in need, you help them. If you can individually be involved in politics because you're trying to do good to God's children, that's all fine. but he continued to draw the line for us.
I'm to be a citizen who submits to the powers that be. I am not to be a revolutionary. We don't start riots. That's not a Christian thing to do. We don't even start revolutions. And you could argue about the American Revolution, whether that was actually legitimately a Christian act or not. We don't start revolutions. We submit to the powers that be, and we work to change the culture from the inside, one soul at a time.